What difference can one person make? The truth is, real change happens when just one person refuses to look away even when the problems seem too big. Hello and welcome. I'm Sadhika Tiwari and you're watching Eco India. This week, we meet people who are showing us that real change and action does not really have to be perfect or loud. It just has to begin somewhere. Because when one person starts, others follow, and that's how impact builds one quiet step at a time. Maps help us find our way. But what happens when entire ecosystems go missing from them? That's been the case in some tourist hotspots in India's southern coast. We meet people who are trying to right that wrong. This is a story about changing coastlines, fragile landscapes, and the people who are determined to map a different future.
We are on the Coromandel coast in southeastern India with its long, sweeping beaches and rich cultural heritage. The region around the cities of Puducherry and Karaikal is popular with visitors, and many people here earn their living from tourism. But not everyone is happy. Local residents like A. Kannan, for example. He has fished here in Puducherry for many years.
We used to get the boats up by 4 a.m. and by 9 a.m. we used to have close to 1,500 rupees worth of fish.
That's the equivalent of 15 euros. These days, he spends much longer out on the water for less return. His catch and his earnings have almost halved in recent years. Everything started with 2004 tsunami, which hit the coast of the state of Tamil Nadu hard. Many fishing communities were destroyed. The local government then had mangrove forests planted. These forests provide coastal protection and a new habitat for many animals. But word about these long green swathes of coastline spread. The area attracts visitors from across India. It is the local fishing communities who have lived here for centuries who are losing out. For example, here at Pondi Marina Beach. 10 years ago, it looked completely different.
They used to cast nets from the beach to catch fish during a particular season. On the other hand, there were places where turtles lay eggs. Now both things are not possible here. It is now a place that promotes tourism. So what is happening here is that this beach is becoming a place that only a particular set of people can use.
One of the reasons for this exclusion was that the land use of these fishing communities was not recorded in the coastal zone management plans, nor were the ecologically sensitive areas mapped properly. Prabhakar Jayaprakash and a few others are working together with the local fishers to change that. They are carefully mapping the coastal strip section by section. Prabhakar is part of CPRM, the Coastal People's Right to Life movement.
If these places aren't included in the government's plans, they won't be protected. That's the reality.
The knowledge of the fisherwomen is invaluable, as is their mapping work. The women who have joined together to form Karaikal Fisherwomen's Federation are acquainted with every single tree or bush in the area. Often, the women go out to measure, record, and chart together. For instance, in Akampet in the Karaikal district, there is a huge sand dune. When the tsunami hit, the water only flowed into the flat areas, and people behind the sand dune were protected. Even today, 20 years after the tsunami, we can only drink the water from the tap near the sand dune. Dunes are vital for survival in this region. The porous sand stores rainwater, keeping it away from the tainted, salty groundwater. Yet, almost 140 hectares of dunes in the region are not found on plans. As dunes are an important source of drinking water, all local communities are interested in preserving them. About 8 hectares of mud flats are also missing from all official plans.
What looks like a mere damp swamp is actually a mud flat. Some people could think, this looks so greasy. How useful can it be? But this is the basis of the coastal food system. It provides food for several bird species and other life forms. It is also an amazing nesting ground for crabs, prawns, and fish.
Mangrove forests protect the nearby coastline from erosion. They are also highly effective carbon sinks, storing more greenhouse gases than other types of trees.
இப்போ இந்த மேங்க்ரோவ் காடுகள் வந்து இந்த பஃபர் ஜோன்
Mangrove plantations serve as a buffer zone in the center.
அதுக்கு கிழக்கு பக்கமா இருக்கிற நெய்தல் நிலத்துக்கு அவங்க மீனவர்களுக்கு
On the eastern side, they harbor a variety of fish, crabs, and shrimps and provide a nesting place for fish, which ensures the livelihood of fishermen.
மேற்கு பக்கம் இருக்கிற இதுல வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா உழவர்களுக்கு அவங்களுக்கு அக்ரிகல்ச்சர் லேண்ட் வச்சிருக்காங்க.
On the western side, they also prevent salt water from entering the farmland,
அவங்களுக்கு போய் அவங்களுடைய நிலம் வந்து
which benefits farmers.
இது வந்து ஒரு பாதுகாப்பு அரணா இருக்குது.
In August 2024, this team, through a fisher representative, petitioned the local government and filed a case with the National Green Tribunal. They hope that the coastal zone plans will soon be revised to include their data and that of the fishing communities. The process could take up to 2 years. It is the only way to preserve the coastal ecology these communities depend on.
Scorching summers aren't a shock anymore, especially in South Asia where they've become the new normal, even in India. The same goes for Bangladesh, where over the last few years, the intensity and frequency of heat waves have gone up. But there's a group of women in a slum here who've been preparing for a while. They've been preparing not with money or machines, but with care, community, and leadership. Let's take a look at how these women have been helping their neighbors survive the heat.
Here in Borishal, in south-central Bangladesh, over 100,000 people live in informal settlements like this one. These women are making their way through the alleyways of the Hatkola slum, led by Rekha Begum. She and her fellow women's group warriors are going from home to home, educating others on how to protect themselves from various heat-related illnesses. What challenges have you been facing? I have allergies, itching, restlessness and nausea. I sweat a lot, so I need to wash often. And I struggle to eat anything. It's crucial to maintain cleanliness in this area to prevent the spread of diseases through flies. Eating contaminated food can lead to diarrhea, worsening your health in the summer heat. Consume glucose, drink bottled water, and ensure children stay hydrated and cool. In recent years, the country has seen increasingly frequent heat waves. Higher temperatures are particularly harsh on low-income communities, exacerbated by power and water shortages and a lack of information on how to cope. In 2018, the Bangladesh Red Crescent and British Red Cross established a women's group in Hatkola, Borishal, to address these challenges. Women are often hit hardest by extreme weather, so empowering them to lead the response is crucial. They come together from various areas for regular meetings. A mother of 3, Josna Begum leads the women's squad in her community, not only raising awareness, but also training women from neighboring areas to follow suit. I have called you here urgently to discuss the extreme heat. It's dangerously hot. Please take care of yourselves and the women and families in your community. Many have diarrhea and are vomiting, very common in this heat. Avoid eating stale food. Keep courtyards clean. Drink safe water, preferably from tube wells. Avoid tap water. It can carry germs, especially now. Stay alert and share this message to keep everyone safe. Rekha shares her dwelling in the Hatkola slum with her husband and children. As well as taking part in the heat awareness campaign, Rekha works as a tailor and sells clothes to small shops. She's preparing a meal for her family. They once opposed her working outside the home, but that has changed. With the support and connections provided by the women's group, she is now able to earn an income. I thought if others can do it, so can I. So I took the clothes to shops, spoke to people. The clothes sold, I gained confidence. Now I even sell far away. At first, my husband stopped me. He said, "Don't work, it's not good." Then he thought, why not? You will learn new things and the family benefits. Finally, he said I could go. Now he doesn't stop me. He encourages me. He even helps deliver the clothes. Hatkola once faced severe water scarcity, forcing residents to travel far for clean water. Women's group initiatives have eased the crisis, but more work remains to improve life here. Josna believes that collective effort is key to success. The impact of the women's groups extends beyond the slums, inspiring others to join their cause. As the saying goes, we serve society for our own well-being and to better our community. Seeing improvements in our area brings us satisfaction. By providing access to clean water, we benefit not only ourselves, but also neighboring families. Our actions have a ripple effect, improving lives beyond our immediate surroundings. Borishal is vulnerable to cyclones, floods, heat waves, and other natural disasters. Women like Josna and Rekha are determined to accelerate the women's group's efforts. While some disasters are unavoidable, raising awareness can mitigate their impact and reduce human suffering.
Antarctica is one of the last places on Earth where countries have mutually agreed to maintain peace and focus only on science. But beneath its icy surface, a quiet power struggle is now brewing over land, resources, and the rules that govern and protect these resources. As the world warms and political interests grow, the future of Antarctica hangs in the balance. And what happens next could shape this last untouched continent on Earth.
Welcome to the highest, driest, wettest, iciest, coldest, and windiest place on the planet. It's a frozen desert 1.5 times the size of the United States, with nearly no rain, and at the same time has a lot of resources we really want.
The largest resource now in the Antarctic, I would say, is its fresh water.
Daniela Liggett teaches and researches Antarctic governance and geopolitics. That's her in Antarctica.
Around, I think, 75% of the world's fresh water is stored in the Antarctic ice sheets.
They've been frozen for so long that scientists have found ice 100,000 years old. And underneath that ice lies a whole continent. There are mountains, remnants of forests, and hundreds of lakes, as well as copper, iron, uranium, gold, and even diamonds. The ocean current around Antarctica is the strongest in the world and acts like a conveyor belt, transporting water and nutrients around the planet. And in that ocean are massive amounts of krill, tiny shrimp that make up the main diet of whales and remove the equivalent of 5 million cars worth of CO2 from the atmosphere every year. Swimming with them are prized toothfish, known in restaurants as Chilean sea bass. Also under the ice are around 500 billion barrels of oil, the second largest reserves in the world after the Middle East, as well as 300 to 500 billion tons of natural gas. So oil and gas, fish, krill, minerals, and freshwater, to say it's rich in resources is an understatement. But here's the thing, accessing them is either forbidden or restricted. Antarctica is one of the few places that could fall under the term terra nullius, land belonging to no one. Instead, it's governed by a one-of-a-kind international agreement by more than 50 nations. But it wasn't always this way. There's evidence that Maori were the first to see Antarctica in the 7th century. James Cook was the first European to cross the Antarctic Circle in the 1700s. By the 1900s, 7 countries claimed slices of it. In 1956, India complained, bringing the question of Antarctica to the UN.
The fear that Antarctica as a continent could be militarized, or the fact that nuclear weapons could be deployed or tested in the continent, was something that India had apprehensions about.
Hanashri Jairam is a senior assistant professor working on a range of global environmental governance issues.
So the approach generally adopted by India towards Antarctica is that of the common heritage of mankind, of humankind, as one would say right now.
A year of international scientific cooperation followed India's complaint. Combined, they paved the way for the Antarctic Treaty, which devoted the continent to peace and science. The treaty strikes down those 7 land claims, forbids military activity, and mandates research sharing. Discussions about overfishing and whaling also led to a commission to protect the southern oceans. It has since established catch limits around the continent and marine protected areas where fishing is more restricted or banned entirely. And over the next decade, negotiations eventually led to a ban on mining and other resource extraction. Today, there are 58 countries who have signed the treaty, 29 of whom can participate in decision-making about the southernmost continent. The success of this treaty is unprecedented. Countries have been able to put geopolitics aside and work together for science like nowhere else in the world. But this cooperation has recently become less stable. Even though the Antarctic Treaty invalidates those historical land claims, Chile, Australia, and the United Kingdom submitted documents to the UN in the 2000s, claiming the ocean off the coast of their former territories. And in 2015, Norway went a step further. They said that their policy in the Antarctic has been based on the assertion of Norwegian territorial claims. Geopolitical tensions are also increasingly spilling over into annual negotiations.
You've got greater bloc formation, especially now with the Russian invasion into Ukraine.
Considering all of this, there's a lot of talk about 2048, the year that any country part of the treaty can propose to renegotiate it. There are fears of lifting the mining ban and opening up Antarctica to resource extraction. But for anything fundamental to change, 3/4 of the countries must agree and have new mining laws in place. That seems unlikely, but what is worrying is that some countries are starting to test out the treaty's limits. One way is through fishing. Unlike the treaty itself, marine protected areas will expire in a few decades. New ones have been in discussion for years.
We have seen there's been a lot of pushback by countries that are interested in the fisheries of the region, and which has also affected krill population.
Russia and China have vetoed instating new ones. We requested an interview with the Russian and Chinese Antarctic bodies, but never heard back. There's been an increase in illegal fishing around Antarctica in the last 10 years. So even with the restrictions, there's more krill catch, as well as bycatch of other species. Krill is particularly important because it's a keystone species. A decline in krill threatens the whole Antarctic ecosystem, and it's also bad for us, as krill remove millions of tons of carbon from the atmosphere every year. Krill is used in supplements and to feed the growing number of fish farms. Norwegian company Aker Biomarine does the majority of the fishing. Members of conservation organization Sea Shepherd say trawlers go directly through feeding whales. Also concerning is what's happening on the continent itself. Even though the Antarctic Treaty forbids military activity, some stations contain technology that could be militarized.
There are monitoring stations which could be used for global activities around, shipping. It could also help with military activities in other parts of the world.
Also concerning is the search for oil, something else banned by the treaty. In 2020, Russia conducted a survey specifically to assess the oil and gas-bearing prospects of the Antarctic shelf. A Moscow State University paper also maps the location of oil-containing rocks. And already tense negotiations desperately need to deal with increasing tourism. Over 120,000 tourists went to Antarctica in 2023-2024 season, over 10 times as many people as the early 90s. And with more people comes more damage to wildlife and ecosystems that regulate the global climate. These tensions are concerning because Antarctic science affects the whole world. Scientists there noticed one of the most important discoveries of the 20th century, the hole in the ozone layer. This observation was such an existential threat to life on Earth that countries immediately joined forces to close it. And if anything, studying Antarctica has gotten more urgent.
Antarctica is warming twice as fast as the rest of the world. It's lost trillions of tons of ice since the 2000s.
An iceberg the size of Chicago just broke off in January 2025. If the whole continent were to melt, sea levels would rise by 58 meters. Only 10 meters would already put many coastal areas underwater, so the consequences would be devastating. Studying Antarctica can help predict changes affecting the rest of the globe. And there are ways to better protect it. You personally can stop buying products with krill.
The pharmaceutical industry makes a lot of money from pushing like your omega-3 acids from wild krill, and that's coming mostly from the Antarctic.
On a governmental level, there are already incredibly strong laws and regulations in place to protect the continent. Countries just need to devote more resources to them. But ultimately, Antarctica needs attention. With more resources devoted to negotiations and observation of what's happening on the continent, countries can strengthen the cooperation and keep Antarctica protected.
Across India, trees often bear the scars of advertising. It's common to find posters nailed onto the barks of trees. While trees are strong, there's only so much they can take. In our next story, one man from Tamil Nadu has taken it upon himself to heal the local trees damaged by this practice. Let's find out how he does it and take a few notes ourselves.
Subhash Srinivasan is a policeman who patrols the street of Ramanathapuram, a small town in the southeast Indian state of Tamil Nadu. And he is on a special after-hours mission. Soon enough, he has found a culprit. Not the tree, but one of the countless nails used to pin up advertising boards. They are small, but they do serious damage to the trees, the sub-inspector tells us. So he makes short work of the offender. In and around Ramanathapuram, you won't find a single tree without ads nailed onto it. What I do is remove them. Trees are our lifesavers. They give us oxygen, and it's unfair to harm them by hammering iron nails into them just for the sake of ads. Just as our bodies are protected by our skin, trees are protected by their bark. So nailing advertising placards to trees damages that outer tissue, and those wounds could eventually destroy the entire tree, says District Forest Officer Hemlata S.
Nailing a tree damages the bark, creating a hole that makes it susceptible to infections and diseases. And during the rainy season, there is also a risk of fungal infections. Subhash is doing great work, the kind of activity that all of us should be doing. Because as per the Constitution of India, it is the duty and responsibility of every citizen to protect nature. Preserving nature is not only the duty of the Forest Department, but also the responsibility of each and every citizen. It is hugely important that we save trees in urban environments.
After removing the nails, Srinivasan applies a medical paste made of turmeric, sesame oil, and neem oil. It helps to prevent infections where the trees have been breached. When I go to other places like Chennai or Trichy or Madurai, I carry my tools with me. So in my leisure time, I'll do the same work there too. I usually circulate an awareness notice among the locals, and I get involved in campaigns about the importance of trees. Trees are so important. It's impossible for us to stop breathing for just 5 minutes. So even if we are not praising and protecting them, we should at least not be harming them. And in the 20 years since he began, Subhash Srinivasan has won a series of awards for his tree-saving efforts.
That's it for today's episode. As we've seen, whether it's protecting the trees, putting ecosystems back on the map, or helping our neighbors adapt to rising temperatures, every effort counts. Do you know of any such initiatives that deserve to be seen or heard? Let us know, and don't forget to follow us on our Instagram at DW_environment for more stories like this.
This is an ancient Elias tree, older than the oldest alphabet. It's been standing here in this temperate rainforest for over 5,000 years. It's called the Gran Abuelo, the great-grandfather. It has outlived civilizations and carries important information from the past. Environmental researchers measure the tree's growth rings to find out the climate conditions of each year the tree has existed. Scars in the rings, for instance, reveal the exact year when a fire swept through the forest. These details give information on how forests recover from ecological events. But now the tree is under threat from logging, highways, and forest fires. One family who has lived in this forest for decades has dedicated their lives to saving it. They have already managed to stop logging for a government-led road project, at least for now. And they have been doing their own crucial research, trekking in the remote forest every week for years, taking samples to calculate how much carbon the trees have absorbed. It's the longest recording of this kind of information in the Southern Hemisphere. The Gran Abuelo has survived millennia. With the right choices, it can stand for many more.
Thank you for watching. I will see you next week with more such stories. Until then, take care, goodbye, namaskar.